The insane 2021 trade deadline 5 years later. Let's go.
Of the most significant trades that happened before the 2021 trade deadline. 5 years later, we can look back on them to see the winners, the losers, and everything in between. Down here are the trades with the least value. Sometimes both teams got negative
The most value, negative.
value in the trade, but up here are the trades that involve the most value.
So the Cubs, I think this is for Palencia here. I'm gonna assume. I think this is for Palencia. I would assume that one of these is PCA, and then I don't know. This was a crazy trade deadline. The Cubs got a ton of things and not a lot of it, honestly, and not a lot of it came back because that was the year they traded Rizzo, Bryant, Javi, and then everyone else on their team. Crazy year. This should be a good one. This guy goes insane.
Exchanged hundreds of millions of dollars of value sometimes. There was one of the biggest win-win trades in recent history here, and there's one of the most
This is the Craig Kimbrell, Nick Madrigal trade. This is the Chris Bryant trade. I can't tell what that is. This got to be the Alcantara trade with what's his name? This got to be the Soler trade. I don't even remember who we got back in that. Dude, Cubs made so many trades here.
lopsided franchise-altering trades here as well. The future World Series MVP was traded during this deadline, maybe a future MVP, and also one of the most valuable rental hauls
It was Jock Peterson, not Jorge Soler.
ever. But before we get to all that, let's start with the worst of the worst. The worst trade in terms of value was a deal between the Nationals and Blue Jays. The Jays acquired reliever.
Dude, I remember. Oh my God, Brad Hand was so bad. Oh my God, Brad Hand was horrible.
Brad Hand in exchange for catching prospect Riley Adams. The Blue Jays were making a postseason push, and Hand was supposed to be a big help in the bullpen, though that would not be the case, as he pitched just 8 innings and was not good. Thus, he was worth negative .4 WAR before being waived just a few weeks after the trade. The Blue Jays paid Hand $2 million, and the negative .4 WAR is worth around negative $4 million, so in total, he provided the Jays with negative $4.2 million of value.
Okay, here's the thing, is a lot of the stuff with the trade deadline, I feel like it's better to buy than it is to sell. And you can get lucky in a lot of different terms, like the Tatis, PCA. I'm trying to think of other like complete fleece jobs of guys that just like Jordan, I guess, technically, but he was never really a trade, I guess. Or he was like just drafted. But I saw a clip or a picture of like the Orioles. Dude, a lot of the times when people do complete sells, their teams, the players never really return the value of the players that they got rid of. So I feel like it's much better to buy because you can get players and see their value on the season compared to just completely guessing on the people that guys want to get rid of, essentially.
This is based on the fact that
Because no GM is ever gonna trade somebody that they want to keep, that they deem untouchable, and so like you're getting just honestly scraps most of the time.
teams pay roughly $10 million for every 1 WAR a player is worth on the open market, at least in the time since this trade deadline happened. Riley Adams would go on to play
Unless you're trading with the Padres. And in that case, they trade away everybody.
for the Nationals over parts of a few years, racking up negative 1 WAR. The total value for both teams here were in the negative, making this what you could call a lose-lose trade, which goes down as the least valuable trade made during this deadline, though there were some that were close to it. The Yankees traded for Andrew Heaney, but he was not good in the pinstripes, and
oh my God, dude, this is another guy. This guy was terrible. I remember this. Oh my God, Jansen Junk. What a name for a pitcher.
none of the prospects that the Angels got back panned out. The next least is the deal that sent the Pirates closer Richard Rodriguez.
Bright. Oh my God, and then he went on to be like I think he's pretty good for the Braves, I think.
To the eventual World Series champion Braves, though he would not do well there, and Bryce Wilson was not great for the Pirates. The next trade was the Marlins trading for Joe Panik, who put up negative 1.1.
Joe Panik. Oh my God, I used to love him when he was on the Giants.
Or in Miami, which is not ideal. The Blue Jays did get some positive value out of Corey Dickerson and Adam Simber, who they got in return though, making this a decent win for the Jays, netting them over $17 million in value. Next comes the Eduardo Escobar deal to the Brewers from the Diamondbacks. Escobar was solid for the Brewers, but the Diamondbacks...
Eduardo Escobar, honestly not bad. 800 OPS? How is that only... I mean, he must have been terrible at defense or something, because I feel like for like a DH, if you took that guy at DH, that is a pretty good... You would take this as the Brewers here, not giving up anything at all.
Next return included Cooper Hummel, who put up -1 WAR in his time in Arizona. This does point out a small problem with evaluating trades this way. A prospect who makes the majors and does poorly actually grades out worse as one that never makes it. This is not that big of a deal, just something I wanted to point out, and in this case, it makes the Brewers even more of a winner here. Those deals were the 5 worst in terms of total value
it seems like not that
exchanged in
bad,
the trade,
honestly.
although the Brewers getting Escobar and the Blue Jays getting Simber and Dickerson helped them pull out a net value of over $10 million each in those deals. The values will only increase as we go. The next trade sent Jake Marisnick to the San Diego Padres in exchange for Anderson Espinoza.
I mean, this is just literally a trash for garbage trade here. Like, I don't know if the Cubs really thought they're gonna get anything. You're like at this point when you're trading Jake Marisnick as a seller, you're literally picking a. I'm trying to think of like a thing that you're picking you're going blindfolded into a giant pool of hay and taking one strand and hoping that's a needle and not a piece of hay. That's what this trade is, bro. That's what a lot of these sells are. They're just trying to get lucky, bro. And I wouldn't say this is a bad trade for either team.
These players would provide no surplus value to their team. Marisnick was worth 0 WAR, but the Padres were paying for that 0 WAR, meaning it's a negative total value. Similar to this, the Mariners traded for Diego Castillo, who was a replacement level pitcher for the M's, and the Rays got back Austin Shenton and JT Chargois, who would, in total, be worth negative value as well. The Braves traded for Stephen Vogt, but he was not good for them, and Mason Byrne, the prospect the D-backs got in return, never made the majors. Similarly, the Red Sox traded for Hansel Robles, who put up negative WAR, and the prospect returned to the Twins never made the major league roster. Let's fire through a couple of these more boring trades here. The Reds traded for Michael Givens from the Rockies. Didn't work out for either side. The Padres traded for reliever Daniel Hudson. Once again, did not work out for either side. Then we get
I wouldn't even say this is like. I would say this is a different trade here. But the other trades before this are literally going in and using. I don't even know. Like, the odds are so bad to get any return from it. It doesn't even matter. Like, you can't even say it's a bad trade.
Chris Bryant to the Giants for Caleb Killian and Alexander Canario. Those prospects will become the 4th and 18th best in the Cubs system by the end of the year.
This is pretty crazy. Both these guys were complete. Killian couldn't really do much. But Bryant going and posting a .5 WAR and then immediately going to the Rockies and signing one of the worst contracts of all time. Sad to see, bro. Shout out Chris Bryant. Of course,
while interesting at the time, looking back on it, this trade was not great for anybody. Killian and Canario did not pan out for the Cubs. Killian is now on the...
I remember being so pissed about this return, though. I really wanted Joey Bart. That's what I really wanted, and he's also terrible, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Giants again, and Bryant was just okay for the Giants. They paid him more money than the value he was producing on the field. At least the Giants didn't extend or re-sign Bryant, as that has not worked out too well for the Rockies. The next trade was extremely similar. The Cubs traded dominant Craig Kimbrell to the White.
Dude, this is a crazy trade as well because Craig Kimbrell was so good. Like, this dude was the best closer in the league. He was an all-star. He had like a 1 ERA, and we traded for Nick Madrigal and Cody Hewer, who I'm pretty sure. Let me see. Oh no, he's still terrible. A 4.6 ERA, 3.7 career. Yeah, no, this dude's trash. He actually was not bad for the Cubs though. 3 ERA. But no, Nick Madrigal coming in, I was so hyped to get Nick Madrigal. I mean, before he got hurt, the Cubs traded for him as he was hurt. This dude was like a high level prospect. It was like one of their first picks of the draft. It was like a top 5 pick in the draft. This dude hit 300 over when he was healthy. I thought we got the next Jose Altuve, I want to be honest, bro. And he was very opposite of what I thought he was. And then they ended up getting rid of him, and now he's not even in the MLB anymore.
White Sox. They were able to pry away top 100 prospect Nick Madrigal for 1.5 seasons of Kimbrell. Kimbrell posted insane numbers with the Cubs, a sub-1 ERA,
a .49 ERA. That is insane, dude.
To FIP and X.
See, dude, this is the law of averages in motion right here. He's so good in one half, and then he goes and puts the 5 ERA.
FIP, pretty similar to what Mason Miller is doing this year. Though with the White Sox, that would not continue. You can see the numbers there were not as good. And of course, Nick Madrigal never really lived up to the hype.
I mean, this was also a huge trade for the White Sox as well, because the White Sox this year were going into the playoffs expecting to go to the World Series. This was White Sox prime.
He had as a prospect with the Cubs. Just like the Bryant trade, very interesting at the time, but in hindsight, it's kind of boring for both sides. Everyone always says don't hoard your prospects. You never know what they'll actually turn into. But the same goes for major league players too. You could trade for the most dominant closer in the league that year and get something much worse.
That's
I
true.
mean, it's hard to trust a guy whose favorite musical artist is AI.
What?
Anyway, back to some more boring trades. Michael
Chad, what are your thoughts on AI music, bro?
Chavis to the Pirates and Austin.
If you sit, I'm gonna say this. This has nothing to do with this video at all. But if you seriously listen to like AI artist songs on Spotify, you go in and you listen to actual AI artists. I'm sorry, but that is actual like bot behavior. I don't even like. I hate saying that about people. I truly hate that like term of saying someone's like a robot or a bot or like they don't. You are actually a bot. I'm sorry. I had to say it. So listening to like 10-hour AI like music like compilation things on YouTube is a little bit different because it's just background music and there's no like singing, but actual AI songs that are on Spotify, get that the fuck out of here, bro. That is actually weird.
Davis to the Red Sox. Yeah, that's pretty boring. Freddie Galvis for Tyler Birch. Not going to spend time on that. And the Dodgers traded for Danny Duffy, who never actually pitched for them, so he was overall a net negative.
How does that even happen?
Prospect the Royals.
How do you trade for a player and he never pitches for you? Either injury or
got in return, never made the majors. If I talk too much about Cesar Hernandez for Connor Pilkington, you'll probably fall asleep, which actually might be good for me as you would be guaranteed to finish this video, and that would be great for the YouTube algorithm. But
let's keep it going, bro.
And for that, you should subscribe. Most of you aren't anyway. All I will say about this trade, though, is that it's the first trade here to have a total value exchange in the positives, so we're getting somewhere.
A 3.7 ERA isn't bad, I guess. I don't know.
Next up, the Brewers traded for Rowdy Tellez, who played there for 2 more.
Oh my god, absolutely terrible. Holy. But I mean, it's not like the Blue Jays got much better, bro.
4 years after 2021, made over $7 million, but only produced 0.6 WAR in totality, making his total value a net negative. The Blue Jays did get a sliver of positive value in return, though, with Bowden Francis and Trevor Richards. Okay, we have another interesting one now.
Okay, this trade right here. I'm a Cubs fan. I am wearing a Braves jersey, but I am a Cubs fan. This is why I'm stopping on the Cubs stuff. This trade right here, I genuinely thought that Kevin Alcantara was going to be. This is going to be like a Tatis level fleece here. I'm going to be honest. This dude has the height. He had the power. He has the swag, as you would. Like, he's got the whole Jaguar paw and everything, which is fire. And he's really he has not been that good for the Cubs, honestly. But he did just hit his first home run, and I still have some belief, bro. Rizzo did go to World Series. He didn't play very well in that World Series, but I mean, I didn't even know we got this guy in the trade. I'm gonna be honest.
Another big Cubs trade tearing down their team. Anthony Rizzo going to the Yankees for Kevin Alcantara and Alexander Vizcaino. These were the Yankees' 12th and 9th best prospects according to MLB Pipeline going into the year. Rizzo was just a half a season rental. The Cubs ate all but $200,000 of his remaining contract, so the Yankees were basically getting him for free. He was solid for the Yankees that year, and Rizzo did end up signing a contract with the Yankees after 2021, though I'm not counting that value.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I was a little sad when this happened. I honestly thought that was a great trade because I thought he would come back, but he didn't.
Here because that was not part of the trade package that the Cubs traded away at the time. The prospects so far for the Cubs have not panned out, but the book on Kevin Alcantara is far from closed. He still has a pretty high ceiling. The next trade is the Cubs, once again, trading away Jock Peterson to the Braves. He was okay for the Braves, producing .4 WAR. He wasn't a huge help on
I think he helped them in the playoffs, though.
Their World Series run either, posting a 680 OPS and a 75 WRC plus in the postseason. They basically gave up nothing for him, as Bryce Ball would never make the majors for the Cubs. The next trade sent Phillies Kyle Gibson and Ian Kennedy in exchange for Spencer Howard, Kevin Gowdy, and Josh Gessner. Kyle Gibson steals the show here, producing nearly 3.
Kyle Gibson with a 5 ERA, but a 2.9 WAR.
3 WAR for the Phillies during the remaining season and a half on his contract. Spencer Howard was supposed to be the big get for the Rangers here. He was a top 100 prospect.
Oh my god, an 8 ERA, a top prospect going. That's what I'm talking about, bro. You cannot hold on to prospects.
Here, according to MLB
unless
Pipeline,
you
but
can just tell,
Nick
bro.
Madrigal never really worked out either. This netted the Phillies over $20 million in total value. Trade number 25 was the Reds acquiring 2 relievers, but this one was pretty much a wash. Next is the Braves trading Pablo Sandoval.
He's going to talk about it here. Eddie Rosario was a massive reason. Oh my god. I'm unplugging this shit, bro. This shit is tweaking out. I don't know what's going on. Eddie Rosario was a huge buy because he was so good in the playoffs. So good in the playoffs. Pablo Sandoval never played. Yeah, GG's, bro. This is a complete rinse.
The Guardians for Eddie Rosario. Rosario was another addition alongside Jock Peterson the Braves made to their World Series winning roster, and this one was even better. Rosario was great in the
He
regular
won the
season
NLCS, I
and
think.
postseason for the Braves, and all they had to give up was a 34-year-old Pablo Sandoval.
He won the
He never
NLCS
played for the
MVP.
Guardians, as this move was purely just to dump Rosario's salary. Great move for Alex Anthopoulos and the Braves, though, one of their many moves this deadline. Next is Ryan Tepera from the Cubs to the White Sox for...
See, oh my god, dude, Ryan Tepera was so good with the Cubs. This dude was a beast that year. That's one thing I do remember.
Bailey
I don't
Horn.
remember the other guy.
The Cubs continued to sell here, and Tepera was solid for the White Sox, but nothing crazy. Trade number 22 is Jay Happ to the Cardinals, with the Twins getting back Evan Sisk and John Gant, two players that did not do much in a Twins uniform. Happ was okay for the Cardinals during the rest of the season, though. The last trade before we get into the top 20 is Kyle Schwarber.
I mean, bro. Kyle Schwarber for Aldo Ramirez. This is the year that the Cubs let Kyle Schwarber walk in free agency. GG's. Don't have I just unplugged my soundboard.
For the Red Sox
But
and Aldo Ramirez
Instagram boom sound.
to the Nationals. Now, this Kyle Schwarber is a lot different than the Kyle Schwarber we know today. This Schwarber was only 1 year removed from being non-tendered by the Cubs after a disappointing 2020 campaign. He was pretty good for the Nationals, posting a 137 WRC+, but was even better for the Red Sox in the half a year he was there, setting himself up for a free agency contract with the Phillies. Now we get here to the top 20 trades in terms of total value. From here on out, we're going to...
The top has to be PCA, but I can't imagine it being this good for both teams. I would assume... Dude, I don't know, man. It's going to be like... It can't be the Juan Soto trade. Honestly, I don't know, bro.
See a lot more valuable players traded and more consequential trades a couple of years
down the road. There's no way Javi was that good for that 1 year.
Mariners getting Tyler Anderson, who weighed 63 innings for the Mariners. Also remember when you see some of these 2021 pitching numbers to consider that 2021 was a pretty big offensive year. The average ERA across the league was around 4.3, which is much higher than this year, and the same goes for FIP and XFIP. Trade number 19 is Adam Duvall returning to the Braves for 1.5 years in exchange for former 6th overall pick Alex.
See, I think Duvall he was also pretty big in the playoffs, I think.
Jackson, of course, never lived up to that draft position, and Duvall was solid on the Braves, playing good defense with around a league average bat. He wasn't anything crazy in the postseason on the Braves World Series run, but gave him good production overall. At number 18, Rich Hill was sent to his 10th team in his career, the New York Mets. He was good for them for the rest of the year.
Like
however,
40
the
years
Mets
old.
collapsed in the second half, going 29-45. Ultimately missing the playoffs.
Yo, that is brutal. And you give up PCA and you miss the playoffs. Yeah, GG's, bro.
To the fault of Rich Hill, though. At number 17, we have possibly the most impactful short-term deal made this deadline. The Braves got Jorge Soler in exchange for Casey Kalich, who never played for the Royals. Of course, you probably know that Soler ended up winning World Series MVP for the Braves and was great throughout the entire postseason,
dude, that was
a 145 WRC+. Not only that, but he was also...
this was just kind of a boring World Series, though.
Great in the second half of the regular season. While the Braves only got $9.2 million in surplus
Jordan
value,
in the field.
if you include what he did in the postseason and the fact that he was a key part of winning the World Series, you could probably bump this up a lot. Number 16 is Yimi Garcia in exchange for Brian De La Cruz and Austin Pruitt. De La Cruz ended up being the most valuable player here, but he didn't even put up over 1 WAR over the course of his 431 games he played for the Marlins, so...
Oh my god, 431 games in a .9 WAR. Dude, how bad do you have to be at defense? He's got negative 19 fielding run value, I think is what that stands for.
Kind of a wash.
That is horrible.
Here. Number 15 is some more relief help going to the Astros in the form of Kendall Graveman and Rafael Montero from the Rangers. Montero was great on the remaining control the Astros acquired, but was very bad once they...
Kendall Graveman was also... he was supposed to be really good, and I don't think he was that good for the... I don't remember. Was he really... I think... Was he really good on the Mariners or the Astros? I do not remember that.
Extended him. The Astros, of course,
he had some good cards in MLB The Show.
Going to the World Series this year, but ultimately losing against the Braves, though they got good value from this deal. Trade number 14 is a victory for the Nationals. The Nationals got Drew Millis, who gave them some solid catcher defense over the course of a few seasons. Meanwhile, the A's got Yan Gomes and Josh Harrison for 2 months, and the team missed the postseason. The 13th most
It's kind
valuable
of a big
trade
trade.
is once again the Cubs selling off one of their expiring
I was right.
contracts and Andrew Chafin. The A's in return gave up Daniel Palencia, who's been great for the Cubs so
A 1.5 ERA. Yeah, shout out Andrew Chafin.
far. He was a starter when the A's traded him away, but command issues pushed him into the bullpen, where he's been a dependable high-leverage reliever. The A's, of course, did not do much with Chafin, although he was solid for them for 2 months. The 12th most valuable trade is once again another seller's victory. The Pirates traded 2 months of Adam Frazier.
Dude, how is Jack Sawinski a 2 WAR? How is that? And how was De La Cruz not? 379 games, he hit 199. I'm pretty sure there's one. I'm pretty sure last year he hit under 100. He had I mean, that's not a bad OPS. He probably hit a lot of home runs, but yikes, bro.
Who was an all-star in 2021, in exchange for a package headlined by Jack Sawinski. Sawinski's first 2 years in the majors would lead you to believe that he was going to be a very productive player, posting nearly 4 WAR in his age 23 and 24 seasons combined. But in 2024, he fell off a cliff, as he was worth negative 1.1 WAR in just 88 games. Though his first 2 years were good enough to the point where this is still a pretty...
It was actually so sad. I went to a Rockies game last year in Colorado, and it was Skeens versus like some random on the Rockies or something. This dude, Sawinski, was hitting under 100 at the time, and people in the crowd were yelling at him, telling him he's terrible. Like he struck out every single at bat, I think, or something like that, and I just felt bad for him. He looked very sad.
Clear win for the Pirates, even with the return including Tucupita Marcano, who is permanently banned from MLB due to gambling. Number 11 is
That's
another
awesome.
Pirates trade. This time, though, they lost by a wide
Clay
margin.
Holmes, holy. Diego Castillo, Hoy Park for Clay Holmes, a 2.7 ERA. That's nasty. Shout out Cubs legend Clay Holmes.
They traded Clay Holmes, who was fine at best in the Pirates bullpen, mostly due
An
to poor
absolute
command.
fleece
Once
job.
on the Yankees, though, he was in the zone more consistently and began dominating as one of the best ground ball pitchers in the league thanks to his elite sinker. He became the Yankees' closer for the next 3 years after 2021, making this a very valuable pickup for them. $44.8 million in net value for the Yankees. Hoy Park and Diego Castillo were below replacement level for the Pirates. Now we get to the top 10, starting off with the Brewers buying
Reese Olson, a $50 million value, and Daniel Norris, one of the few trades the Brewers actually lose.
Daniel Norris from the Tigers in exchange for Reese Olson. Olson did not have a ton of prospect hype when the Brewers traded him, as they were willing to give him up in exchange for a half a season of Daniel Norris. But once he came to the Tigers, he took a step forward. He put up a great season in 2022 in Double-A and debuted in the majors in 2023. Since then, he's been very productive, although he's missed the entire 2026 season due to a shoulder injury. At number 9 is Jose Barrios to the Blue Jays, and prospects...
Wow, it's a pretty even trade, but just the cost value is what screwed them here. Like, Barrios puts up a 2.6 WAR. I mean, they did get rid of Austin Martin, who was a top prospect here, who like hasn't, I guess he hasn't really been that good.
Simeon Woods Richardson and Austin
This was a big trade when it happened though.
To the Twins. Martin was the number 5 overall pick in the 2020 draft and was the 22nd ranked prospect in MLB Pipeline's top.
Dude, I remember when this happened. Barrios was an all-star. The Blue Jays were pushing for the playoffs again. To get rid of, this is their number 1 prospect. I'm
100 going
sure.
into the year. Woods Richardson was 86th on the list, so this was quite the prospect haul for the Twins, who were giving up one of the league's most valuable pitchers in Jose Barrios, and he still had multiple years of control, though all 3 of these players would be disappointments. Barrios never found the same success for the Jays, and of course the 2 prospects the Twins got did not hit their ceiling. Both teams did get positive value out of their returns, the Twins a little bit more. Trade number 8 sends John Lester to the St. Louis Cardinals in exchange for outfielder Lane Thomas. Lester did not play well
the
at
Cardinals,
all for the
that's
Cardinals.
disgusting.
Thomas plugged into the Nationals outfield pretty nice. He played 425 games for the Nationals, being an above-average hitter with a 107 WRC+.
A 6.7 WAR. Holy.
A clear win for the Nationals. Number 7 was a pretty big one at the time.
Oh
Joey
my
Gallo
god,
and
dude.
Joely
This trade was so hyped up because Joey Gallo, when Joey Gallo was actually good, yes, I said that. Joey Gallo used to be good. He was hitting bombs, playing insane defense and right, and just hitting. He had insane lefty power. The short porch and right, everyone thought this dude was about to hit 60 home runs. Nobody would have thought that this was going to happen. They got rid of. I'm pretty sure these guys were like good prospects, but they didn't really end up panning out very well. Ezekiel Duran, I think, is he the dude that was up for All-Star this year?
Rodriguez to the Yankees for 4 prospects. Of course, in hindsight, Joey Gallo did not succeed once he left Texas. His strikeout rate was nearly 40% for the
I
Yankees.
think it was the beard, dude. I think it was the
And
beard.
the quality of contact wasn't as good either. He wasn't extremely awful, but certainly did not live up to the expectations or the money that he was owed. Joely Rodriguez did give them $1 million in surplus though, which is not that much, but more than Gallo. The Rangers, of course, got
They
Josh
both
Smith
have
and
these two
Ezekiel
guys.
Duran, 2 solid players, just below average hitters, and Duran has been a great defender at pretty much any position you put him. These 2 guys have played a lot for the Rangers over the years, and such have been worth a lot of value. Number 6 was Jesus Luzardo to the Marlins in exchange for Starling Marte.
So Marte hit. Oh, this was when the Athletics were actually good. Marte hit 316. He was actually good because they also had. God, who did they have? They had the second baseman. They had Simeon. Dude, I don't even remember. They had Simeon. I think they had Matt Olson. This team was good.
It was great for the A's for the remainder of the season, but once again, the A's missed the postseason, and Luzardo was very productive for the Marlins. Number 5 was one of the biggest rental deals of this century. Both
Wait, they missed. I don't remember.
Trey Turner and Max Scherzer,
I might be thinking of 2020.
an MVP candidate and Cy Young candidate, were traded to the Dodgers for a package of 4 prospects.
Trey Turner, Max Scherzer. This was the big. I think these were the 2 big pieces. Josiah Gray, who's terrible, and then keeper Ruiz, who I think he got hurt this year, but he was actually starting to be good. This was a huge trade, and then getting Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, this was like a complete blockbuster. It's the start of the Dodgers like owning everybody.
Starting off with the Dodgers side, these 2 players were great for them. Scherzer was only there for the remainder of 2021, but still put up 2.9 F4. Turner was also there for 2022 and put up 9 WAR between those 2 seasons. Of course, the Dodgers never ended up winning the World Series with these 2, so you could argue they didn't achieve what they wanted to do with this trade, but in hindsight, they didn't give up that much. At the time, Ruiz and Gray were both top 100 prospects according to MLB Pipeline, 56 and 57 respectively. Gray was probably the more exciting piece at the time. He was dominating hitters in the minors, even in the Pacific Coast League in 2021, which is a pitcher's worst nightmare. Though these 2 never panned out, which probably had something to do with the Nationals' player development at the time, as Keibert Ruiz this year has made major strides just 1 year into the new regime in Washington, so we'll never truly know how this would have panned out if these players were properly developed. As it stands today, the Dodgers are massive winners in overall net value. Trade number 4 is a much less exciting one, but there was a ton of value exchanged. The Guardians got Miles Straw, and the Astros got Yainer Diaz. Straw, of course, was a top-of-the-line defender in center field for Cleveland, the main reason why he was pretty valuable, along with his base running. Diaz has put up some solid seasons behind the plate for the Astros. Recently, it hasn't been as great, but in 2023 and 2024, he put up over 5.
Dude, Phil Matan, I don't even know how you pronounce it, bro. This dude needs to just give it up and retire, bro.
WAR combined.
One of the first times the Cubs actually spent on relievers was this year in the offseason. This dude is absolute ass.
Longer on the Guardians, he was traded to the Blue Jays for cash considerations, but Diaz is still putting up some value for the Astros. Now we're getting into the top 3. We have 3 trades that have completely changed the outlook for a few franchises.
Okay, Brewers Rays. What could it be? Is that Willy Adames? Who did they trade for Willy Adames? The Brewers had to have traded like some good pitcher.
The first of which was between the Rays and the Twins, in a rare trade that the Rays
traded, I don't remember.
Come out on the losing side of things, and they're on the losing side of things by a wide margin. They got Nelson Cruz, who went from a 142 WRC plus with the Twins to a 95 WRC
they traded away
plus
Joe
for
Ryan.
the Rays. The Rays were the 1 seed in the postseason, but lost to the Red Sox in the ALDS. Joe Ryan was part of the return package
I would be
to the
so
Twins,
pissed off.
who of course has turned into one of the more valuable pitchers in the league. He was not a crazy highly touted prospect, being a 7th round 22-year-old college draft pick, but he produced at every level of the minors and didn't waste much time in the majors before he was one of the top pitchers in the league. He's been worth nearly 14 WAR for the Twins, and he's still under team control.
Dude, Nelson Cruz, man. I love me some Nelson Cruz.
For next year too. The Rays, especially considering how the year turned out, lost this one by a lot. Number 2 may turn into one of the most lopsided trades that we'll ever see. It's Pete Crow Armstrong.
I actually can't believe it. PCA. future 2026 MVP. And probably my favorite player on the 2016 Cubs, Javier Baez, bro. Two players that I love. And then there's Trevor Williams, who honestly looked like he was pretty good, bro. But what a trade, man. What a trade for the Cubs. It would be a little bit, honestly, I don't know if it would be better or worse if the Mets signed Javi.
For Javier Baez and Trevor Williams. Williams and Baez were good for the Mets, but they're not more valuable than Shohei Ohtani in 2026. I talked about that a few weeks ago on my second channel. If you want to go watch that one, go ahead. After you finish this video, of course. I also talked about this trade last year, and the thumbnail has aged pretty well, as this is a disaster of a trade for the Mets. PCA might just be the best defensive
dude, the best defensive outfielders of all time. And then he's also a top 3 hitter in the league right now. He's the best hitter in the NL currently. But top 3 in the league currently.
Fielder of all time in terms of
give it to
value.
me, PCA, bro.
He's also become a much more consistent and productive hitter this year, and he runs the bases very well. He's already worth nearly 15 WAR for the Cubs, and they still have him under control for several years. Adding on to this, the Mets, like I mentioned before, collapsed in the second half despite this trade and missed the postseason. The Cubs have already been...
What was it? Thumbs down thing? Is that what the Mets did, or what would they do? I can't remember. Retweet. Click the like button if you remember.
$114 million in value here, and that number may very well go towards $250 million by the time it's all said and done, maybe even more. This is a very bad trade for the Mets, and for the Cubs, it will increase their playoff and World Series odds for years to come. While this trade will probably end up being the most valuable, right now, there's one that is actually quite a bit above it. One of the best win-win
Willie Adames, Drew Rasmussen
trades in recent history. The Brewers traded Drew Rasmussen and J.P. Fireeisen to the Rays for Willie Adames and Trevor.
A 1.4 ERA, am I reading that right? And then what does this guy got? This guy's got, Adames was good for the Brewers. He hasn't really been that good, I don't think, for the Giants. Trevor Richards, 3 ERA, 0.1 WAR, but actual value. 0.9 value.
Trevor Richards. Adames was great for the Brewers, giving them nearly 16 WAR in his time there, and Rasmussen has been great for the Rays as well. Rasmussen is in his final year of control this year, although the Rays extended him into next year, which I wouldn't count towards this trade as that was a separate move after acquiring him. He's had some problems staying on the field, but this year he's been healthy and pitching more innings and having the best year of his career. Adames, of course, hit...
Yeah, thank goodness, Drew. Dude, this dude would probably be better on the Brewers.
Free agency and signed with the Giants in 2024, but as of right now, the Brewers have slightly won this trade in terms of net value, though I doubt the Rays really regret this decision, especially considering the fact that they were able to...
Dude, and Willie Adames was terrible on the postseason run. He was so bad. He was one of the reasons they lost.
Out of free agency year for Rasmussen, $255 million of surplus value was exchanged in this trade, making it the most valuable of the 2021 trade deadline.
That is pretty insane.
And really one of the more valuable trades you're gonna see. Even though this trade technically happened like a month and a half before the deadline, it's way too interesting to not include here. In summary, let's go over the biggest winners and the biggest losers.
I'd say the Cubs are the biggest winners.
There are 3 pretty clear ones. First, the A's. They lost around $60 million in value.
Dude, I feel like the Athletics are just known for trading away their best players for nothing. That's just what they're known for.
Buying talent for a postseason push, and they did not make the postseason.
So, what do they call them? The Braves and Phillies farm system?
They lost over $150 million and counting, while also getting eliminated in the ALDS. But the worst, obviously, has to be the Mets. So far, they've lost over $100 million in value, which will only go up as PCA can...
Wait, that's pretty insane that the Rays are that... The Rays not only won a trade, but they also lost Joe Ryan, which...
continues to play, and they also did not make the postseason. Now for the biggest winners. At number 3, I'd probably put the Twins. They got Joe Ryan, but haven't had a whole lot of success.
That's crazy. The Twins are one of the biggest winners, and they still are terrible. Actually, they'll probably make the playoffs, though, even though they suck.
Team around him, but value-wise, it's hard to question that this was one of the most valuable moves that they could have made. In second, I would put the Braves. This is harder to quantify in terms of value. They didn't win out a whole lot in terms of surplus value for the trades, mostly because they were trading for half-season rentals, but also one of their acquisitions, Jorge Soler, won World Series MVP, so that's definitely worth something.
Like in a year,
I think it's pretty obviously the Cubs.
In a year where the Acuna is hurt, like tore his ACL, you replace him with Jorge Soler and Eddie Rosario, who basically do what he could have done in the playoffs, but probably also better. Not saying that they're better than Acuna, but their play in those two series was on an Acuna level, and they replaced them pretty perfectly. Also, Chicago Cubs winning this deadline, Jed masterclass in his first full year as GM. Also, not even including the fact that he traded away. Oh my God, he also traded away Yu Darvish at the beginning of the year before the season started for Owen Casey, who probably has a negative WAR, but they also got Edward Cabrera, who probably also has a negative WAR for the Cubs, but that's not up there. Jed Masterclass
Sold off a
again,
ton
bro.
of pieces this trade deadline, and they acquired one of the most valuable players in the league right now. And to get him, they gave up a rental in Javier Baez and under 200 innings of Trevor Williams. As far as selling goes at the trade deadline, this is about as good as it's going to get. In a few more years, they'll probably have a net value from this deadline somewhere between $200 and $300 million, which is pretty good.
Only from
Who knows
PCA
what will
or
happen with the
just
2026 trade deadline in 5 years? We may look back on some of these trades and see how they change the trajectories of entire franchises,
I think this is what gets the Cubs the World Series.
but we'll just have to wait to find out. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you enjoyed.
Honestly, this dude is a good video. I don't know if I agree with using the Soul War because some of the players are DHs slash whatever, and so I don't know. It kind of War gets skewed by DH mainly, and so I feel like it's a little off. But this is a good video. I think I do like this. Chat, if you like the video, make sure you click down here the like button. Also subscribe as well, and then if you wanted to watch more, click right up here.